So we're going to get straight to the point. Should you watch The Old Guard? I say if you like Charlize Theron or you like action movies and you have Netflix, yes. It's simple as that. Yes. Action throughout the whole movie. It's R rated, for violence and gore. Interesting story, decent character moments, clearly setting up a franchise. And yeah, I say definitely check it out. Do you agree or disagree?
I enjoyed it. I think, like you said, we talked about it, kind of equating it to something like John Wick, where it's got a decent story, but it's mostly just action. And I think this did a great job of kind of embracing that. It's a lot of action, and the story's not bad. So I think that helps it as well.
So that is our spoiler-free section of this review. This is Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and yeah, we're going to talk about the Old Guard a little bit. We are going to dabble into some of the spoilers, and there are actually legit surprises in the movie. So yeah, we're going to continue this. So yeah, check it. We recommend it. It's worth your time, I think, and I'm going to go into why. And I did have a few issues with it, which we'll go into here in a minute. But yeah, so check it out. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. The channel has been growing a lot in the last several weeks. We appreciate all the new listeners. Subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think about the movie, about what we're saying. Hit the little bell icon, put us on your social media. We do other movie reviews. We do movie reviews every Friday. We do Perry Mason reviews on Sunday evenings. You can go check out our Hamilton review from last week. We had a guest, Larry, was on the show, and I think he'll be returning to the channel in about a month for Lovecraft Country. So Greg Rucka, this is based off of a comic series, which was written by Greg Rucka. He's written a lot of comic books. He has a large resume. You can go look it up. Wrote a lot of Batman, Detective Comics, some of the new 52 stuff. He wrote Checkmate. I think he invented Batwoman. Wrote a lot of the early Batwoman. Let me confirm that he did write a lot of the early stuff. I don't know if he invented the character, but he wrote a lot of the Question stuff, the books of crime, all kind of stuff. And he wrote this series. So this movie is based off the first, I guess, series of The Old Guard, and then he's currently writing the second series right now. I think it's ongoing right now. So if you watch the movie and you're interested in seeing what happens next, you literally can go read it.
I was gonna say, I think there's only, they said, one left. They're like 5-part like trades essentially as far as size wise, and I think 4 of them have already come out for the second part. So the second part of the story, I have no idea what it's about, but it's almost completed if I'm not mistaken.
He is listed as one of the co-creators along with Jeff Johns of Batwoman. Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Mark Waid, and Keith Giffen, excuse me.
Keith Urban?
Keith Urban. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, Rucka's the writer. He wrote the screenplay for this. And, yeah, I thought it was, it had a comic booky feel to it. The way the film was even written, certain sections of it, you almost could feel like, I haven't read the comic, but you could almost feel like that was an issue. How do you agree? Or because there were certain parts of it that were it was broken up in a way where it felt like 5 or 6 issues of a comic book.
Yeah, because it felt like they were trying to end a story before they were getting ready to start the next part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking that. I was trying to remember the plane sequence, like that felt like an issue. You know, of the comic, like. So the beginning of the film, we're introduced to this team. The trailer gives away pretty much the premise. You have a team of immortals who fight throughout time, and some bad guys. Well, I mean, you could argue whether they're bad or not, but a group of guys want them so that they can basically create a prolong life. Which I mean, there's some noble things there. They go out of their way to make sure that the rich guy, Merrick, wants to make money. They, um,
It's not noble. Don't
n-
don't pass it off as noble.
well,
It's
in
not.
on his case, they really go out of their way to be like, oh, he just wants money. He just wants money, which I was fine. I wish they had explored him a little more, and I would maybe the comic does, but it just seemed all about money for him. Where to me, it would be more interesting if he had an obsession with immortality also, which he didn't. He never really even seemed to care about that aspect of it.
Well, I thought Copley, the cop,
He was more interesting.
yes, I really, as a matter of fact, outside of Charlize Theron, he was probably one of my favorite characters. I really enjoyed him, his acting. Uh, I also liked. I don't remember. It was Nikki and the other one.
So so I'll rattle them off now. Andy is Charlize Theron's character. She's sort of the leader of the squad. Then you have Joe and Nikki. They fought each other during the Crusades.
I liked Joe.
Yeah, they were interesting dynamic. I guess they met in the Crusades. They fought each other, killed each other, and then I guess they fell in love and have been together ever since. And then you have Booker, who is the French guy, and the traitor, which which made me laugh. Um, and what he fought with Napoleon or whatever. And then you had
Yeah.
Nile. Nile was the new. She was a Marine, and she's the new immortal. And then you have Copley, who was Secret Service or not Secret Service, excuse me, CIA. And then Merrick was the super rich asshole guy. But yeah, those were the main characters. And then they introduced. Yeah, he was named. I can't. The head of the security, was a named character. His death was brutal, man. It was. I loved it. Um,
Yes.
Dropped him on like his head and snapped his neck. That was really cool. But going back, we were first introduced to the team. There's some. They're told that there's some girls have been kidnapped and they're on a mission to rescue. And this leads to it's a betrayal. It's a setup, but it's a really cool sequence to sort of display uh, how they operate as far as a unit and the combination, which is this thing that's consistent throughout the whole movie. The action scenes are a combination of modern weapons and old weapons, so sword play mixed with guns and shotguns and machine guns and everything. I absolutely love the way they choreograph those scenes.
That was probably one of my favorite parts was when Charlize was, or Andy was going around and she would clip somebody's ankle with her battle axe as she reached over top of them as they were falling and shoot somebody in the face. It was the combination of the two, basically using the axe or sword in the close quarters, and then shooting somebody as they're running past them. I thought it was very well choreographed. And when they talk about how they've known each other for so long, you look at any well-oiled machine, whether it's a sports team that they've played together for a long time, they know where each other are going to be at any given moment. Soldiers who have been together for a long time know what the other person's going to do. Cops who have, partners, they know where each other are going to be. And these people have had several lifetimes to get used to each other. So it's even more ridiculous how every time one of them moves, the other one's already covering them.
Yes, I loved how respectful the film was to the military. Also, with Niall's character, every aspect of her character and her being a Marine, I thought was very respectful. Even down to it's a subtle moment, but when she removes her uniform, the way she folds it. I don't know if you caught that, and places it down. Uh,
Well, the whole time I was thinking, every time you ever see it, I watched Space Force, like the whole thing, and Steve Carell's character in that was very not old school military, but very, tucking the corners in. He was singing the little song while he was doing all this stuff. He was telling his daughter to clean. Like everything he was doing was very military. So for her to fold it like that and it was like perfect and set up, that was, like you said, a nice homage to what it is to be in the military. Now it's obviously there's way more to it than folding the uniform, but the
Yeah,
strict
but
discipline of it, like it's
yes, a nice visual cue. If anyone who served saw that, they would get it. I like how. Let's talk about that plane sequence. So, because I have a lot to say about that in a very positive way. So basically, this team, they discover, okay, we've been set up. We discover, okay, these guys want us for whatever reason. We got to go into hiding. Well, Nile is killed in action, resurrects, discovers she's immortal, and now Andy has to go retrieve her. So she ends up getting her, and they get into this plane. And I love this plane sequence because I don't know, it's about 10 minutes maybe total. Um, and it is exactly the right way. The movie does this badly in some ways, but when you're doing an exposition dump or you're trying to give a bunch of story, there's the right way and the wrong way to do it. And this scene is the right way to do it because you learn so much about those two characters and what's going on um, in that sequence without them just telling you. Going to, for example, the way she folded her uniform. She respects the uniform. She, respects the Corps, all that stuff. The Charlize Theron and her views on God. You learn a lot. Charlize saying that she was worshipped as a god, so now she's super old. You know the speaking of the Russian scene where she's speaking Russian, which sets up a scene
yes.
film. The fighting between the two, showing that okay, now can legit fight. But Charlize, when she wants to shut it down, she does. How the bodies heal, even through that scene. Every little thing that's done in that scene is teaching you about these characters, about the world, about what's going on, their views on life, and I that's how you build characters. That's how you build a world. And I was noticing that whole sequence, like, yeah, that's how you do it. Now I compare it to a scene later where there are scenes where they're just literally just telling you shit, you know, and just sort of like what's her name? Was it? It's like Quinn.
Yes.
So the flashback stuff's cool, but it's such random shit. Like you okay, you have a dream about this thing. They come out and they just tell you who she is and what happened to her, and then the movie never addresses it again until the after credit scene. It just felt odd the way it was placed in there from
Well,
my
yeah.
point of view.
Well, because even if the end of the movie credit scene, where I don't know if she's going to be a villain or if she's going to be just important or if she's going to be looking for Andy. Like, I don't know, because how they showed her dying was legitimately awful. They put her in, and
Yes.
and I text you that before you start watching it, because that torture device to me is the most insane thing. Now, I imagine that if you're not a witch, like it wouldn't matter because you drowned about a minute and a half and then it'd be over. But for her, they put her in this big, it looks like a sarcophagus with the face cut out, and they show her getting dropped into the water and then just repeatedly drowning over and over and over. And I can't imagine, because they said that everything still hurts, like they just heal quickly. So I can't imagine the pain and fear of drowning over and over and over. Not to mention, depending on where they dropped her, the pressure from the water, pushing on her. Like, there's a lot of things um, that I think were pretty awful. However, they didn't build that character up at all. You don't understand what happened. They spend, 2 minutes saying that her and Charlize were like the first two because that's how they met or whatever. And they show how they fight and stuff, which is pretty cool, but I don't really care about the character. So the post-credit scene, her getting tortured, it was awful, but I didn't care a whole lot.
Yeah, it was a weird, like, I like the flashback stuff, but yeah, after it happens, then it's like, well, what was the point of that other than to set up the sequel? It was just, I don't know. It was a little bizarre. Uh,
Well, because they could have said anything. They could have said, Andy really liked her. They were more than friends. They were best friends. They were compadres because they were the only two that they knew of at the time. Like anything, but nothing was implied. Nothing was said. Nothing. Like it just.
we also learn that they can die, because there was another guy, which they never. I don't even know if they said his name.
I
That
think they
in
did, but I don't remember what it was.
that ended up at some point they can just die. They stop healing and then they'll die. Now, I was curious if it was connected to. Uh, is there a rule? Is there only a set number of immortals? And when one's immortality runs out, it transfers to another person, or how any of that rule. They don't explain any of the rules really throughout it, which was the odd scene when Charlize was very the
It's
religious scene where she was just dead set, like, no, there is no God, there is no. This is like, I mean, I'm not saying you have to believe believe, but in a world where immortals and you don't know how you were chosen and you have shared dreams, like there's some shit going on. Like I don't know if it's a god or what, but I thought it was interesting that she just was completely dismissive of certain things.
uh, they had the original guy's name was Lycan, Lykon.
Okay.
That was the one that died. And I'm looking at the comments right now on IMDb, and they're very mixed.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And what are some of the complaints?
Well, you know, entertaining, badass acting, like good, not like bad. Doesn't quite live up to the graphic novel, but still good.
Oh.
Uh, and then a couple of them were get a better script and a good director. I was like,
I think
damn.
I thought the directing was decent. I do have a major complaint, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But as far as the directing is concerned, because I was even paying attention to like the camera positions and just how certain things were shot, I thought it was fine for
Well,
what it was.
I especially the action sequences, I had zero issue with it. I mean,
I
when she
agreed.
comes when she comes out of the church and the camera's kind of panning behind the antagonist, and then Charlene comes out, or Charlize. I don't know why I said Charlene, but Charlize comes out the door and takes him out. I thought that was a really cool, different visual because you're following him into the building, and then she takes him out, and then you start following her. I thought that was a cool transition. So I have zero issue with that. But
There was a
uh,
couple lines that I thought
oh
were
yeah, the
corny, or
dialogue
yeah, there was
was
a couple here and there, but it wasn't. I mean, there was one in particular that stuck out when she gets on the plane and Charlize, oh, she's like, oh, you got blood in your hair, and she's like, well, I wonder how that happened. And she sort of makes a joke, but I don't know. It just seemed odd that she would make that joke at that time. Still not completely. I don't know. The line just didn't work for me, but
dogs are being loud
I
as shit.
have. I hear the dogs. Uh, so yeah, I know. I thought the script was decent. Wasn't it wasn't the greatest ever, but it was serviceable, and all the performances were really good. I don't think there was a bad. I don't know. I'm thinking as far as the performances. I know.
Um, I don't know. I thought dialogue wise, um, and that's not a slight on the director because she didn't write the script.
Now, Greg
So
Rucka wrote the script.
yeah, so the dialogue beat, but to me, for what it was a comic book movie,
Yeah,
and it felt like a comic book movie. The dialogue was kind of cheesy at times, but that's not necessarily bad for what it was. The only Nile to me felt a little stiff.
There was a
Like,
couple, as we go into the blood in the hairline, there were a couple lines and a couple moments which felt off to me. I just don't know that it just didn't feel like that character would say that or do that. And I did feel that way a couple different times.
uh, my favorite characters was the two guys, the couple, Joe and
Joe and
Nikki.
Nikki.
That that was by far, especially Joe. Nikki didn't have a lot of dialogue and stuff, but Joe,
You're
he
right.
was my
Nikki didn't
favorite
say
character.
much. Nikki didn't say much at all.
Joe by far was probably my favorite character in the movie. Like, I love Charlize, but as far as character depth, Joe was the to me the most developed, best character by far.
Booker was well. Like I said, the performances were pretty solid. And you're right. Joe was a character that you were like, yeah, I want to spend more time with this character.
Yeah, and Charlize, now with the post credit scene, you want to know more about what her and Quinn's relationship was, which to me it shouldn't have taken a post credit scene to give a shit about her. So that should have been set up a little bit better. But I think that they probably already got the green light for the second one, which is why they were hyping it so bad.
They better because I
But
mean,
you know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
there was no reason. Because with who is in it, Charlize is the only real name. The rest of them I recognize from like some other stuff, but not enough to be like, oh, I'm going to watch that movie. But with her name attached to it, with all the hype behind it, it shouldn't have been hyped as much as it was. I think that they probably already greenlit the second one, and uh, I I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm saying that the hype behind it was way different than what I felt about the movie. I felt the movie itself was different than how it was hyped. Like, it to me, it felt, I don't know, like you described it as like Highlander.
that's
To
what I
me,
thought it was gonna be.
yeah, and to me, that's how the trailers portrayed it. The hype wagon that everybody was talking about, how it's this really in-depth story about these immortal characters, and I'm like, no, this is just a straight up John Wick style action movie, and I loved it for that. I didn't I didn't feel that the story was fleshed out as good as it could have been, but I think that that's what they're doing, is setting up a multiple movie franchise. So
It felt like I don't know if we said this on air. We talked about it earlier. It felt like a pilot to a series. You
yes,
know, like it was all set up. Well, which, like I said, by the end of it, I'm thinking like there better be a sequel because the whole point of this seems to be setting up what comes next.
yeah, the and we've talked about movies like that before. It's movies should be able to kind of stand alone, which this one did if you cut out the last like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
So to me, that's like, say it doesn't get picked up again, or there's not a second one, re-edit the movie to where it cuts out that, because it would take like 2 seconds. You re-edit the part where Booker's drunk and stumbling around. You just
yeah.
leave that part out, and then it would be a solid kind of stand by itself. It would still, to me, have questions. I would still, wonder about what happened with Booker, because he basically gets banished from the group.
100
I would,
years. Yeah.
yeah, and I would still have questions about Quinn, because they didn't really explain enough about her. But to me, those weren't things that needed to be done. So if they would have just cut off the last 2 minutes, it would have been a good enough standalone movie for me.
Yeah, I think there was one scene that, and I'll give him credit for this, when Booker was talking to Niall, and they started, the whole idea of, well, the torture of being immortal, because your loved ones, you got to watch them die. I When he started that speech, I sort of, for a second, was like, oh, and because how many times have we seen that? Whether it was in Highlander or any vampire movie. I mean,
Twilight.
all that shit. Yeah. I mean, hell, Interview with the Vampire. That's what the whole plot is,
Yeah,
you know.
they
So,
don't die.
but I thought when he went into the whole thing about his son dying of cancer and his rage towards his father because he felt he was keeping sort of this secret of staying alive away from him, and how that hurt him. When he explained that whole story to me, it was like, okay, this is a new take on that. You know that the ones, if you stay in their lives, they'll resent you. And
Yeah.
so for as it got on, it went on. I was like, you know what? That I like this. I like that. You know, Rucko clearly, has also seen this played out, a million times before, and wanted to throw a different little twist on it.
Well,
So
yeah, because it, they there's a prelude to that with sorry, I was trying to charge my phone. There's a prelude to that with the beginning, with she's got pictures of all her friends, all these people who she's been to combat with, and then immediately they basically all isolate her after she shows
yes,
what she is. So there's a prelude to that conversation. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of great setups. So that's one, it's like 80-20.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
80% of the things play out. They do a good job of explaining, but I think that other 20%, as long as there's a second movie, it'll be 100%. Like I enjoyed it, but if there's no sequel, I won't enjoy it nearly as much.
Yeah, I could see that. If I was going to score it, I would probably say like B minus, C plus, somewhere in that range. It's worth your time. It's fun. It's good. If you like action, like I said, the front of this, if you like Charlize Theron, you have to watch it. If you're a fan of hers, she's great. Or if you just really like action films and you have Netflix, I mean, why the hell not watch it? but but is it Die Hard? No, it's not that. It's not the action film of a generation or anything. Uh, Now let me go into the thing I don't like about the movie. Like I truly didn't like, and that would be the music choices. There. Okay, so there's a scene where Niall. This scene is good. Niall, you're right. Her friends shun her. She's about to be shipped off. She's feeling bad. She sits down. She puts in her earbuds and she's listening to some music. And it's a modern, song. Great, great scene. Music's used properly. But then, for whatever reason, there are multiple action scenes. Great action scenes where they just throw this damn music, turn it way too loud, and it just to me doesn't fit the scene. And I had subtitles on, and there was a particular scene where Charlize is killing all these dudes in a church, and they're playing this shit music, and it said in the subtitles it said what did it say, electro pop. Like it just pops out, it's like electro pop. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And why is it pulled me out of the movie several times. Like it distracted me. Like I
Well,
wanted to leave the movie.
to me that is a directorial choice. Like
Yeah,
it's
and for that I would criticize whoever made that choice. I didn't like it.
no, and to me there was a couple different scenes where it looked like they were trying to pull just modern music, but it didn't work. Like it didn't feel right. To me, if you were going to basically like they were these old warriors, I would have pulled something like older music and put it over top of a new action sequence. I think that would have been cool. Play some like I don't know ancient Celtic style music or something, or even the part where they were fighting the Mongols. It looked like something like that. If they would have played something from that style, I think that could have played well, even with the newer action sequences. But to me, I saw in the subtitles, it was like Billie Eilish something, and I don't know what song it is because I mean I know who she is, but I'm not familiar with her music on
Well,
that
it
kind of level. But it
one of
didn't
the
fit.
it it the music didn't fit with certain scenes, and then it really dates a movie, and I'll take a movie. Soundtracks are very tricky because if you think of some movies that can stand the test of time, are movies that typically either the music is, like you said, go with something older. That way it doesn't really date it as much. When you jam it full of literally, whatever's on the radio right now, it really dates the hell out of it. And I mean, you take a movie like, let me take a movie like Dracula 2000. That's over.
Oh Jesus!
Well, point being, uh, it. I don't know why that movie did stick out. I started thinking about that movie for
Wasn't
whatever.
Vitamin C in that movie?
She's in that movie, yeah. And most a lot of listeners are probably like, who the hell is Vitamin C? It's like, well, exactly.
The
You,
graduation
you,
song. If you
that's
graduated anywhere
ever
between like 97 and 2005,
she wrote that.
her song's at your graduation.
I hope she got paid well for that shit. She deserves millions and millions of dollars because everyone uses that song. Um, I hope she was compensated. I don't know, but I don't know. I just to me, soundtracks can impact films negatively because I should not be distracted by a soundtrack. That's basically what I'm saying, and I was several times in this movie.
Well, and the way that the movie is set up, there's not a whole lot of wardrobe that would have dated the movie. There's not a
No,
whole lot
no,
of
no.
like weaponry wasn't bad. It's just pistols essentially. They had a couple. I don't know what the new MP5 looking weapon is. That was really cool looking, but the wardrobes weren't really dating. The thing that dates this movie or will date this movie, because right now it's relevant, but is the music.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I didn't like the music choices. I did, It wasn't even the music choices as much as the placement where they were placed. Uh, there you go. If you disagree with me, fine, sure. But I'm I'm standing by that.
No, I
Uh,
didn't even like the music. It had nothing to do with the place.
yeah,
Uh, the part that, like we talked about, the only part that made sense was when she put in headphones,
that
and
made
was
sense.
that made sense because that's what she was listening to. That's what she likes. That's what her character liked. Okay, I get it. Good. But when, there's no fight scene to Europop that would have been a.
Yeah, dude, it literally said yeah, electro pop, and then it goes into the like dubstep thing towards the end of it, and I'm like, that shit's over. Like, I don't even remember the last time I heard a dubstep song. I don't know, maybe they're still rocking it somewhere, but I don't know. That was weird.
Must be somebody outside that they saw because they're both just barking. Fucking shitheads.
Those are big ass dogs. Uh, all right, let's see. Getting back on track. Yeah, so yeah, hated the music.
My bad.
No, I was trying to remember from the music what I wanted to talk about. So Booker's betrayal. So at first he betrays the group. They get Joe and Nikki get captured, and then Booker betrays Andy. And for a second, I was like, "Why the?" It made no sense to me. Like there was a second where I was sort of getting irritated because like this is fucking stupid. Why would he betray them? And then when he explains it, I was like, "Okay, I sort of buy it." His whole idea of if they can figure out how this works, then maybe they'll be able to die. And I was like, I could okay, yet again going to the whole sort of vampire, tortured soul angle, and the curse of life. I get it.
That
I
was the
think
complaints that I saw on IMDb. Is they
well,
were
I
like
think
it's cliche or whatever.
it is, and I was hoping I had hoped that there was more to it, but there wasn't. Uh, so yeah, I could see somebody complaining about that because it was a bit of a cliche why he betrayed them. Because it's almost like, well, why did you need someone in the group to betray the group? But then it sets up the ending, so I guess that's what it was for.
But I don't even think they needed that though.
I don't
Um,
either. Yeah.
they already had the other two. They already had Joe and Nick. They didn't need him to portray, but they didn't need Booker to betray them. They were already going to go get Nick and Joe. So they could have got caught then. You know,
It was literally only to set up the end credit scene. Like you're right. When you examine the rest of the film, everything that played out with Niles' rescue, you could have done that with um you didn't need it. You're right. You could have rewritten it where that didn't happen. Yeah, it's literally just to set up the sequel.
yeah, because now he's banished from the group, and now you have somebody who was in the group is back. So
Yeah. So you have that. You have Niles' assault on the building and everything, which is cool. A lot of cool action scenes, with the exception of the music. Uh, and then I love how the group works around Andy because Andy now is mortal, and so she can die. And I love how they protect her
oh, that
in
was great.
the bat.
Them
It was
like
it was really
rotating.
cool. Yeah, the way they did it.
Yeah, but I don't know that she's going to stay mortal because it. I mean, it's still a question mark because we don't know what it is that makes them immortal or what makes them mortal. I think that going by what they said, it was almost Andy's time because Andy was losing faith in she was doing the right thing. But then by the end of the movie, she was feeling re-empowered. She was saying, you give us these tasks, you help us find the right ones, and she was like, and we'll carry out those tasks. We'll do the right thing. So now she's got a new purpose, and I think towards the beginning of the movie, she was losing that purpose. So I think that maybe she's not mortal, although I think them playing her as mortal would be just as interesting.
I loved the way they killed Merrick, or Nile axes him and then throws him out the window through the car. I thought that was a nice send off to the character. Like I said, I wish he had been a little. They'd put a little more effort into him than him just being. Oh, he was almost. I mean, he was damn near borderline twirly mustache villain. Which I don't typically like. I like a little more depth, a little more uh, reason why. He just wanted money. It's like, all right, I guess.
Well,
Liked
to
his
me,
depth.
they just could have made him less cartoony. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he was a bit. It was a little over the top. So then you had the complete setup. You had Copley basically is now going to be running. He's going to be their tech guy, and he's going to erase any records of whenever they do a mission. He's going to help find missions for them. Andy's sort of the leader now, but she's got to be careful because we assume that she's mortal. You've got your squad. It's a complete setup. Like I said, it felt like a pilot to a series that we'll be getting. Every week they'd be on a new mission, and
Yes. What is it? Person of interest, where
it
the
was
one
very
guy
much like Person of Yes, which
who's
is
kind
a
of giving them a mission or giving
mhm,
them. That's kind of what it felt like.
that's a Jonathan Nolan series.
Yes.
So, and then you get the after credit scene where uh, Booker is drunk and he's upset and he stumbles upon uh, Quinn, who's alive and seems healthy and fine, and they meet, and then bam, that's it. So clearly a setup to more films. Um, I am looking. I'm going to read some of those reviews later. I'm curious. Sometimes, I mean, we do it too. I mean, we shit on movies and we say what we like or what we don't like. But I do sometimes I do get irritated. I get irritated when somebody criticizes a movie uh, for being what it is. Like if I watched a High School the Musical, right? And I was like, oh, I hate
They
all the
get pissed
singing.
off they're singing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, that's what
And
it is.
it says musical in the title.
You know. But
Or like even Hamilton, we knew it was a musical. That you said
yes,
that's not your jam, but
and I
you're not going
said
to
that
hate
up
on it
front.
for. You're not going to hate it for being a musical.
No.
You already knew it was. It's not a secret.
But yeah, hopefully they make the sequel. Charlize has become. I mean, when you really sit back right now and you say, okay, who are the top, 5 action stars? She's on that list. I mean,
Well, I think so. After Furiosa,
yes, absolutely. Love that movie so much. But yeah, that's the old guard. That's our thoughts. Anything else?
no, I turned the space heater on.
That
My
was a
bathroom.
microwave.
No, my bathroom's like 6 degrees. I was like, I got to pee, and I'm like, oh Jesus, freezing. But no, like you said, I think that for what it is, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the action parts of it. But, it's one of those things where I'm only going to like it if there's a second one. The
Yeah,
way they set it up, I can't like it unless there's more. So I hope that they do a good job. I hope that they get a second one. The source material for the second one's almost done. So I'm very interested to see what the next one holds.
yeah. If they don't make another one, I agree. It would take this one down a little bit for me, just because of the way it's written. But yeah, that's about it. I think. Yeah, thanks for listening. If you're still listening, as I said, we put movie reviews up every Friday. We have Perry Mason on Sunday nights, and there's a lot of new shows coming out that I think we're going to be talking about upcoming.
I've watched all of them.
Between Lovecraft Country, the we're bringing back Star Wars for breakfast because there's a lot of Star Wars stuff coming up, especially with the Mandalorian in October. I think we've discussed it. We haven't worked out the logistics, but I think we might be doing The Boys when it drops.
God, I hope so.
What we might do. So The Boys is going to be Fridays. It's going to come out on Friday. So we may just not do movie reviews for 5 weeks and do The Boys every Friday. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
Not
the
sure.
boys currently watching Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Spencer's watching Doom Patrol. I'm watching Doctor Stone, which I'm enjoying, anime. I should be done with that this weekend, and then I gotta watch what is that shit called? Umbrella Academy. I never watched it. And the
I
new.
like that too. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna review that. I don't know. We discussed doing a Spencer. What are you watching this week thing? Because he watches so much shit from day to day because he doesn't
I,
sleep ever.
I don't sleep, and on my lunch break, I'm non-social with the people I work with, so I just sit in my car. Like I watched the first episode of Warrior Nun this morning or this afternoon on my lunch break.
So we're gonna go ahead and real quick the next couple minutes. Why not? We'll do a bonus review. Spencer watched the first episode of Warrior Nun on Netflix. Is it worth my time?
I feel it is. The trailer made it to me. I mean, it's comic booky, just like this was, but I feel like the dialogue in it is a little better. The main character has a little bit of like an internal dialogue. She's talking to herself. It's not hokey. The preview led me to believe that it was going to be really CW-ish.
That's the vibe I was getting from the trailer.
But
Yeah.
that's not the vibe I got from watching it. So to me, it was a little bit more A&E than CW. Because I watched the first season of that Nosferatu, and it felt kind of like that, where there were some parts that were funny, but it was still very well done. And I'm not spoiling anything. In the first couple of minutes, you find out like it's a halo. In the trailer, you see them put this.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an Angel's halo,
So
and they.
okay.
But they're getting ready to get. They're getting like sieged. There's a bunch of people trying to come in and get him, and this guy tries to pick up the halo because it drops and it burns right through his hand, like it saws his fingers off. So the graphicness of it, it's very bloody. There's a lot of shit going on. It's very well done, and to me, I mean, it's obviously a series, so they can build the characters a little differently, but they're doing a great job building the main character. So
I
I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
now I got. I mean, I was thinking like, I am a Buffy fan. I enjoyed the series. I mean, I was getting a little bit of that feeling from the trailer. I was also getting a Witchblade. I don't know if you used to read Witchblade. I think it's still running, but I used to read it back in the day. I was feeling that too.
I I didn't watch or read Witchblade, but to me it was less Joss Whedon-y than Buffy because Joss Whedon has a very distinct
Yeah,
kind of
style. Yeah.
style. To me, it's a little bit. To me, Joss Whedon invented CW. Like the way
You're not wrong.
I
That's
know
sort of I know what you mean. That
the
teen
whole
teen tween drama
the whole
with the
style of
supernatural
CW
elements.
is
Yeah.
very Joss Whedon-ish.
Hmm.
But this to me was more serious than Josh Whedon, and there's not a lot of one-liners and stuff. The jokes, the funny dialogue, it's more of just like awkward banter that makes it funny, as opposed to them writing like one-liners and little zingers. It's more situationally funny than it is, like your shirt's blue, like you're
So
red, you have red hair, you're fiery. Like it's
your Joss Whedon's writing is not that bad.
I don't know, it's pretty close.
I enjoyed. I recommend.
You're a redheaded firecracker.
It's not that bad. Watch. You never watched any Buffy, did you?
No, but I watched
You watched
Dollhouse.
Dollhouse. Yeah.
Yes, and it was
You.
equally as bad.
Oh, come on.
But I liked it for the action parts of it. So I mean, like
Yeah.
I enjoyed the show, but it was
He wrote a comic called Frey, and it was like took place in the it was in the Buffy verse, but it's like way in the future. And I always loved that comic. I actually have a copy of it. I always recommend it to people who don't like Whedon. I'm like, well, check this out. If you don't like this, then yeah, you'll never like you'll never like anything he does. But did you watched Firefly? Did you watch that? Can you hear me? Oh, I think he
I can.
muted.
My phone was
Oh.
being stupid. I was like trying to get the screen to pop back up, and I was just like, God damn it! I was yelling at the dog, so I muted my phone.
No.
But I watched Firefly and I watched Serenity,
I love Serenity.
but I once again, to me, it was funnier because of the actors in it. Nathan Fillion's funny. That what's his name? Alan Turd, the I don't know, the
And
redheaded dude
yeah, I don't know his
who's in
name.
Doom Patrol, who's an amazing. I love him as an actor,
Who is he in Doom Patrol?
Mr. Nobody.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'll be
and he does a great job. He basically narrates the first season. It's funny as shit. He is by far the best character, but him and Brendan Fraser as Robot Man just swearing up a storm. It's funny as shit. But like, I liked it. But to me, they should have left all of the comedic parts to Nathan Fillion and Alan.
well. Did you like the Captain Hammer, Doctor Horrible
Yes,
stuff? Yes, yeah, I
yeah.
love that. And you like musicals, but I love that. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I think Joss Whedon sometimes over. I think he overplays his actors. Like he puts
Mm.
them in roles that they aren't fit to be in, and that's my beef with Josh Whedon. Uh, I haven't read any of his comics, so but his movies and shows is that he kind of puts people in situations that make it not believable because the rest of the time their characters very stiff or very this, and then all of a sudden they're like throwing in a little one liner, which is the reason I hated his version of Thor. Now I thought Tikiki Waititi or
Tai-
whatever.
Taika Waititi, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But he did a great job with Ragnarok. But the whole time it was funny.
Well, he
But
knows. I mean, he's a comedy writer.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you look at the Thor movies by themselves. Thor was very serious, and the parts that were funny were him not adapting to this world. But when he was in Avengers, he's like doing little one-liners and stuff. The first two that Joss Whedon did, like I didn't like it because I was like, that's not
There
Thor.
was,
Same
yeah,
thing with
I remember
Cap.
you
Like
complaining about
very
that.
and
There's some great lines. There's some funny lines though. I love.
I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm saying that it's doesn't fit. And that's my beef with him is that he tries to make everything a little bit funny
Mhm.
and the characters he tried to make funny shouldn't have been funny. He should have put the comic relief on the comic relief characters as opposed to putting it in everybody, which is my beef with him personally. Like, I mean, I don't know him. I don't really care. But, like, we're not friends. Unfortunately, shit, that'd be a nice friend to have.
So yeah, okay. So that's Spencer's views on Joss Whedon. So if anyone who's still listening, if you agree or disagree, put it in the comments. I'd be interested to see that. If you enjoy, because we legitimately have talked about just talking about um, what shows or movies or whatever we watch that we don't review. You know, maybe doing a show every other week or something where we're just talking about current things we're watching. If you're interested in that and you're listening right now, put that in the comments below.
I can
Uh,
get long winded about anything. So,
well, and I wasn't exaggerating when I mean Spencer, the amount of shows and movies he watches. I mean, we wouldn't have time to review everything.
I don't,
That's why
but
we
that's
did.
my thing. Like, I don't, I used to play sports a lot. I'm an old beat up athlete, so I can't do that as much anymore. So, my free time, and I don't sleep. I've had a bunch of head injuries and shit. I sleep about 3 hours a night. So, my entertainment is watching movies and TV shows and playing the Walking Dead Road to Survival game. But
So, but all right, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for listening. If you're still listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
bye.
Bye.